Today's adventure begins as the recording of this Sunday, June 29, 2025, here in Bath, England. Yesterday, I was up on top of the cathedral roof up there, Bath Abbey. Today, I'm going to do other things I have not done yet here in this amazing city. And later this evening, after dark, or around dark, I'm going to do a ghost tour. That's not for a while, though. And a few other things on the agenda as well. Really love the streets through here. You just walk around. Today's kind of a nice overcast day. Yesterday was a little warmer than it is right now. Very enjoyable, nice breeze in the air. The thing on the agenda is to go into the most popular tourist attraction here in Bath, the Roman baths. I would imagine that's probably why the town got its name. Or maybe it's just an interesting coincidence. I'm staying in a hotel in this general vicinity, so all of this is walking distance. Yesterday and today, going to go on a little bit more of a stroll after going inside the pump house and the bath house. We're going to go over to a historic cemetery. Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here, wearing an appropriate t-shirt and having a coffee that is shedding a little bit of a tear. I'm inviting you to join me throughout the course of the day. Shall you? Everyone's standing here. Well, not standing. This guy's riding a bike. He's riding. Here's a little courtyard where this gentleman's playing a violin, or was playing a violin, but the Roman baths, or the bath house, is right over there. You can see people are already up in there. Yes, just strolling through the quaint little streets of England. I really like this courtyard over in here. Definitely really beautiful, peaceful vibes through here. Yeah, it's more or less in the shadow of the cathedral. These hot springs were used by the Romans as early as the 1st century, it says right there. The remains of the magnificent are here disclosed. Oh wait, the remains of their magnificence are here disclosed. In the area, in grandeur and completeness, the baths of the Aquasulis were unequaled. I'm sure I just completely butchered that. But look at this. This is like a fish man, because it's like water. And these are put here so people don't sit, because if you sit on this, that would cause some damage. There is even a Roman bath shop right here. It's very busy down here too, very busy. King and Queen's Baths, it says right there. Now the entrance is in the Abbey Church courtyard, so you don't go into there, at this direction. Standing in front of the pump room, this guy, he's got water. He's pouring water in front of the water pump, even though it's very busy down here. Not too lengthy of a line to get in the Roman baths at this time frame anyway. This is a big tourist attraction, the number one here in the city. All right, with the price of admission, you get an audio tour here. Audio things put us up to your ear. Standing on the terrace, completed in 1897. The Great Bath below is just one part of the Roman site, which includes extensive baths and major temple complex built around the hot spring. This is the architect and the sculptor, George Anderson Lawson and John Bryden, designed all the sculptures down from the second level into the hot springs. No longer an active pool. So you can't just, pay a couple $, and then hop in. I don't believe they're allowing that anymore. Even though it's kind of murky, slightly tempting, but also very murky. And look at that, it's got a little buildup on it right there. For example, down there's like a really tremendous buildup of just whatever that is in the corner of the pool there, the springs. This is showing a listing of who the different statues are over there in the corner, the far corner. That is Julius Caesar. So Caesar has the shadow of the cathedral. Caesar's right there amongst those people. They're standing right next to Caesar. They might not even realize it. It is really neat how the little sculptures here are looking down upon the pool itself. Like you got that. He's like just almost kind of looking down, saying, "Enjoy the warm bath. Enjoy the nice hot water down below." Interesting from ground level outside over there when you're walking around the cathedral courtyard and all that, you wouldn't even know that this was like tucked away down inside here. It's like lower level than the sea level would be, because ground level is like here, well, a little bit below there, like right about there, and then this is, you know, down below even that. Right there. This guy got his sword there, his hammer. No, he's got his sword. Kind of overlooking the pool. Yeah, standing here, this is ground level, and I guess back in the day it used to have like an archway around it, but the archway has since been removed. This is a little model of the entire property here and the different springs. The pool, the hot springs bubbling up the boiling water. Well, not boiling, but very, very warm water. You can track where the water flows through the different pools. This little guideline. Take a look at this. It has the inscriptions of when the baths originated, dating back to 76 AD. 7 years after Vespasian became the emperor in 69 AD. So there's the original domed roof. Since been removed. Yeah, this predated the Abbey by many years. This is before the town even got its name. Back when it was Aquasulis. This was a tombstone for a man from Aquasulis. It was reused in the medieval town wall. Now it's here in this little museum. That looks to be a casket right there. It's the headstone of one of the priests and one of the main people here at the springs. Gorgon's head mask over her stomach is what that says. Head mask over her stomach. These are the stones that made up the temple courtyard here, or at least an interpretation of the stones. Looking at it a little more, I think this is the original section here. This little area, this museum portion of it's built kind of right on top of it. Yes, I was definitely incorrect at first about it. That section was not a recreation. Now that I'm seeing all this is the original foundation. So I am here, the entrance to the temple courtyard, so it's just not what you see when you're walking around outside. It's all this other remains that's in here. So it's just a lot more expansive than I originally first thought. That's what it would look like back then.
And this is what it looks like modern day. There's an altar here. This little section here was an altar. Some things happened on there that probably were not fun to watch. This is kind of neat how they give you this description of what it would have been like then and now. So you kind of know what you're looking at. You're looking at this, but if you could go back in time, that's what it would have been like back then. So there's the little box there with where they were having the sacrifices. Steps leading up. Columns would have been here. And there's that box over there too. There's the same box. Amazing. Yeah, steps are still kind of here. There was just one step, two step. Then you had the columns. Column there, and then you would go in. Steps of a temple. You can see the steps are still there, and then they're just showing how the steps went up, and then the pillars would have been there. This is really, really incredible. This is way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be seeing a pool and a hot spring, but this is really well done. This is the head of Sulis Minerva. Whoever that is. Now through here is the hot, bubbling spring. Different than the first pool I showed. If you look closely, you can, well, kind of hard to see from here. Yeah, you can see the bubbling up of the heat and the water bubbling up there.
The Sacred Springs Overflow. Oh, that is warm. I can feel the heat. Wow, that is, you can feel the heat coming off of that. You got the main drain, the Sacred Spring, into the Great Bath, which is the heated. Then you got the cold plunge. So when I was in Ecuador, I did a heated bath, and then I immediately jumped in the cold plunge, and it was really invigorating. It was a little miserable for about half a second, but after you got used to the cold plunge, it felt pretty good. Here's one of the drains from the Sacred Spring to the Great Bath. Must beware of the uneven paving and the gullies. The Great Bath. Just imagine a time when there was a lot of people in this. I don't know how many people they would get in at one time, but probably get 100 people in here if you wanted to. Just crammed in here, gossiping, having their conversations, talking amongst themselves, and enjoying the hot bath. Or whatever else they were doing in here. There's probably some frivolous things. Pagan rituals, enjoying probably the pleasures of the flesh going on in here, doing their things right here amongst Caesar up top there, then the chapel off in the distance. Just what an amazing piece of history. And really nasty water. Over here was more or less like a mud bath where you get like a massage, you get mud taken over your body, put over your body, and then washed off. Kind of like the spa, if you will. Someone would lay right there. They would layer them down with the mud and then wash it off, cleansing the pores. Over the mosaic floor. Back in 1754. Here
Here is the immersion pool. It's just amazing, really, to think about. Like, you know, you're looking at things present day. It's like a museum of sorts. You pay some money, you walk through, you get a little history. But to people that were living during that time, they didn't know that I would be here walking around listening to an audio guide and walking out and buying souvenirs from a gift shop and a magnet afterwards. It makes me think, like, what current day is happening, you know, that 1,000 years from now, or 500 years from now, or 100 years from now, or 5,000 years from now, are people going to look back on as a tourist attraction, just something that we do in our normal everyday lives and don't even think secondary of it being anything magnificent? Is it going to be looked back upon as a historic thing? Things that are being documented or built or shown, or I don't know, just if you try to wrap your head around it, you can kind of go a little insane thinking about it. This was the cold plunge right here. Now it's just kind of like a dark, dank pit. It's like a mosquito breeding pool. Better little peek here at the heated springs themselves. While there, my audio guide is kind of like being pressed up against the brick right here, kind of leaning over, getting a. Oh, you can definitely feel the heat from here to here as well. There's a pigeon right there. This was the heated room. These pillars of tile supported the floor in the room in the bathhouse. Hot, smoky air was drawn from a fire in the stokehole. You could see beneath the glazed floor and circulated around the pillars. The smoke from the charcoal fire escaped through a series of small vents in the roof. So it's kind of almost like it's like one of those rooms you go to in a spa, like a sauna. It's like the sauna room right over there. And then it would like go through that little escape tunnel almost over there. So these are like spa tiles, like non-modern day spa tiles. In fact, here is what it looked like then. Luxurious. The tile was built over, so this was elevated, so the floor was over the top of these. So they've removed the floor to see, so you get the heat underneath there, and the heat would emulate up through the floorboards. Of course, exiting through the gift shop, I could have got this before I went through. It would have been a different experience if I'd have been wearing this as I would have walked through. A lot of the stuff here in town. We got the Royal Crescent. I walked past there yesterday. We got over the bridge. Went through that yesterday. I went to the top of that yesterday as well. Yeah, seeing quite a few things. It's kind of a neat little bag there. All right, after walking around the bathhouse, going to stop by this very historic place, this eating house called Sally Lunn's, who lived here in 1680. According to this, Sally Lunn lived here in 1680, but it's the oldest house in town, dating back to 1482. And evidently this is a very historic place. They have a certain treat you can really only get in here. These little buns that they have down here. They also have a museum, a kitchen museum. Skip the queue and head downstairs. But I think I might get a cup of tea and one of the historic buns from Sally Lunn's. A Lunn's bun. Yeah, why not? All right, looking at the menu, I think I'm going to get a hot, sweet half bun over there. They have jam on it, buttered and served with a generous pot of strawberry trip tree jam and Queen's choice of jam. This is my afternoon tea. Well, the tea is in here. It's 1:30, which is perfect time for afternoon tea. And this is it. This is a Lunn bun right here. Look at this thing right here. Well, half a Lunn bun right here. It's got the jam. It's got some butter right over here. I got my tea over here with a little milk and a little sugar, a little spoonful of sugar. Helps the medicine go down in the most delightful way. And this is the I guess world famous. Well, not world famous, but famous enough for this area here in Bath, the Lunn bun. Right after finishing the meal, walking down to a little museum which shows kind of the history of the bun place. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I usually don't eat bread and jam, and it wasn't butter. It was more like a cream that they have around here. It was definitely a little better tasting than the butter was and the jam. But I don't know the last time I had like jam and jelly on like a biscuit or anything like that, but it wasn't really a biscuit. It was more kind of like this. They took this and they sliced it, and they give you a sliced portion of it here. And there she is making Mrs. Lunn making her buns right there in the oven. It's kind of warm down here in this little museum. But this is underneath. This is also free. Obviously the food, you gotta pay for the food, but the museum's free. You can just come down here and check it out. You got the oven here, and then you got where the fire steam goes up there. And there she is making her world famous buns right there in the oven. And this is what they look like here. Look like they're kind of like, those already have some cream on it as well. Oh, look at the pot there. The pot's brewing. Watch. I can hear people walking above it. That's a neat effect.
All right, I'm glad I did that. That is definitely one of the things when you're here in town that is on a to-do list. It was tasty. It's like there's multi-floors. I was on the second floor. It looks like there's four floors there. It's a very popular tourist spot. I'm glad I got in there when I did before I got too busy. The Sally Lunn house in the basement is where she would cook all her famous buns. They still go to this day. It was similar to other things I've eaten, but also different in its own way. Very tasty. It's kind of like a soft bread, and I really like that. What I thought was butter, but it was more like a cream. It's like a cream and the jam mixed together was a good combo.
Okay, gonna enter St. John's Cemetery. St. John the Baptist Church. It's the one that runs this. Oh, I'm incorrect. It's St. Mary's Churchyard. St. Mary's. How cool is this? Look at this place. Now, the interesting thing about this property is they encourage people to walk around and learn who is laid to rest here. In fact, there are little signs with information about current residents of this graveyard. For example, as this butterfly goes by, Dame Eleonora, 1741 to 1823. She was the mother of the founder of Brisbane, Australia. William Lamplier was an Army Inspector General of Hospitals. He was also the doctor to the court of the King of Morocco. This used to be an old chapel here as well, all overgrown. In fact, you can see a lot of the grass and the weeds growing up here. Right next to here is a pub called the Pulteney Arms, named after the bridge, Pulteney Bridge. Charles G. Jones was the founder of that, the Pulteney Arms. He only aged 45 years. It's a very interesting setup. Oh, look at this. This headstone is the same, dimensions of what the casket would be. It's like an above ground casket version of a headstone. Also, one thing I'm noticing is the size of the headstones. Very tall, very big in comparison. Usually, in the States, in the US, most headstones are about that size. But these here are ginormous. April 13th of 1816, the dates on these. Passed away in 1816. That's way before my time. Way before any of our times. Alright, walking up on the back side of the chapel door here. Well, this... Oh my goodness, look at this. It says evil inside right here. This is Mary Gilbert. Well, at least where her final resting place is. You notice the rock here on top, kind of different style than you see on the normal crypt. But she was an army wife, twice widowed, and she survived a shipwreck. This is a very interesting one right here. Look at this. I'm not really sure what that's supposed to represent or what that's supposed to be. Got the broken tree limb there. And then this one is just basically a pile of rocks. And I would imagine that a lot of the ceremonies, a lot of the funerals that these people had took place right inside that building. Their loved ones showed up to pay their respects and say their goodbyes. The mortuary chapel, there's a photo of it here, back from 1863, shows it right there. Shows the fees that you would pay for a wall grave, a tomb, flat stone. Here's 1851 artist rendering of the chapel in the churchyard. You can see some of them had the metal wrought iron around them then. Since then, those have all gone away. According to the pamphlet and the ticket, it's supposed to meet up with the guide at 10 minutes until 8. It's 7:47. And I'm seeing who I think might be the ghost tour guide over there in front of the cathedral, in front of the abbey. Again, this place is really cleared out dramatically than it was earlier today. I mean, it's very dramatic difference.
The bride by which you weep. Well, perhaps, my friends, perhaps she was one of the many hundreds who lost their lives here, because this is the Bath gallows tree, the hanging tree. It was from this main branch here that the good citizens of Bath would hoist the many thieves who infested the city at the time. Because if you were poor during the 18th century, someone came along and stole from you, what would you do? There were no police force until 1835.
Interesting, because when he walked up, I was thinking that's what this would have been. You can kind of picture the mob mentality of people bringing someone over here without any correct jurisdiction, no court system or anything. They just take the criminal and do their business back in the day. There's a hot air balloon up there.
Quite a well-known antique store in today, Bath Antiques, featured twice on the BBC's Antiques Road trip, that one. But nevertheless, this building has been, as you see it today, vacant, empty, seemingly unsellable for the past 9 years. Incredible as that seems, 9 years. Much to the frustration of the woman who owns the building and the business as was, a woman who we happen to know. And she explained to us the reason for this difficulty is because of a serious problem with poltergeist activity. Scratches upon the face by unseen hands drawing blood. And this is all from the horse's mouth, as it were, the woman who, as I mentioned, we happen to know. Indeed, so bad did things get here that she decided to call in the Catholic Church to arrange for an exorcism.
The guide was just telling a story about how underneath the bridge they would try witches by dunking them in the water back in the medieval days. And they would try the witches and put them to death. And there used to be a slide that they would have the animal remains when they were using the animal parts that would slide down into there. And the trying of the witches would happen underneath that slide, underneath the bridge.
Closed for a couple of years, in fact, a few years now. But nevertheless, this place, the Royal Mineral Waters Hospital, it is a very old hospital, an important part of Bath's history, founded in 1739 or 38. And in that long history, it has of course seen perhaps more than its fair share of death and dying. And
The great nurse haunts this place.
the door connects to a tunnel, an underground tunnel which runs under the road and joins up with that building on the other side over there. That building was originally the leper house, place where people suffering from that dreadful disease were quarantined, hence the tunnel, the leper house. The tunnel was there to stop the disease spreading
Tunnel
to the rest of the hospital.
runs underneath this road.
And the disease did every morning after their shift, whether to cross the road here at ground level and risk being accosted by some wayward reveller on the way back from the pub, or to take their chances underground through the tunnel and risk being accosted by one of the dead. Of course, the tunnel itself wasn't always dark. It was closer and closer, faster and faster, until she arrived, and then would cease. And at that moment, you knew that the grey nurse had you. Might have carried away there. But you're rock solid.
This building right here used to be the leper house where the lepers were attempted to be cured. And this wall, he was just saying, was where during the bubonic plague they would throw people who were passed on and live people who had the plague over this wall. Hundreds of people were cast right in here. And you can't get to it because this is locked up. But there is a plaque over there talking about it. Pretty interesting story, actually. Pretty interesting stories guy has to say. Obviously, I'm not really filming much of it just because he probably doesn't want to have everything on camera, but just filming kind of the experience.
It's the Screaming Flyer. It concerns a happily married couple who came here during the 1740s to enjoy themselves, to indulge themselves. And they were in
Before this was a theater, it was a gambling facility, and there was a lady who had two male lovers that were fighting over her. They fought each other in here. One killed the other. And then when she found out, she came back, and out of her being distraught, jumped out of the top window. She perished. And she still haunts these grounds, according to the guide. Used to be a little boy that lived up in this window over here, and he would draw a figure that would look at him every night called the tall man in the black hat. There's been many accounts of him being seen right here. Walking along here, they say if you walk along this path alone, you'll see him. That's why most people are walking with groups.
So Elise has made it, which is great news for us all, isn't it? And it is now safe for us all. So let's join Elise.
My child is being used as bait.
The last account was 8 years ago. And he's said to have been seen walking down here, and then he'll get to this step and then vanish into thin air. The tall man in the black hat, he says. There's an account of an elderly woman that saw him. The tall man passed through her body, and then she fainted or fell down. Paraphrasing what he said, right in this spot, right next to this pole.
Judicially sanctioned legal hangings that took place here, and this magnificent cypress tree here marks the approximate location where was originally erected a gibbet, a large hanging apparatus capable of supporting a number of nooses. And we know that on at least one occasion a whole family were put to death here, because, as I mentioned, these were judicially sanctioned legal hangings, and we have all the records, the names, the dates, the crimes committed. And these were men, women, and stationary, sort of standing stark still and just staring out the bride of death. Also in this area behind this door, the foyer, the reception area, she saw descending the stairs, all standing motionless. This is John Wood's impressive townhouse. He had designed and had built this entire terrace, and it was his home address. And it was to this address that Frances came as a maid. She lived more or less as a member of the family here with John Wood. And before long, it became known, and quite a scandal, that the relationship between John Wood, the elder, and Frances Braddock, the maid, had gone beyond the professional. Up the stairs to the top floor, the little room at the back, that was her room, the maid's room, and she threw the rope over a beam, and she did indeed hang herself. And she didn't make a great job of it either. Very good. Very good.
That was very interesting. I'm going to have to look up some of the stories he was talking about. Again, I didn't film too much of it, just because I didn't want to, kind of ruin the vibe of what he had going on. But that was really good. All right, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog is over.